Atomic absorption spectroscopy. In this video, I'm going to talk about atomic absorption spectroscopy principle, its applications, and instrumentation part. Atomic absorption spectroscopy quantifies the absorption of ground state atoms in the gaseous state. So in here I have highlighted three terms actually, quantification and ground state atoms, gaseous state. So what is quantification? Now assume you are given an unknown sample which is containing elements, some sort of elements, but you don't know actually what are those. So at that time you have to do a chemical analysis and you have to follow two steps. One is qualitative analysis and it should be followed first. The other thing is quantitative analysis. So in qualitative analysis, usually in flame test also we do the same thing. That means in that case you are finding what is the element that is present in your unknown sample. Then thereafter, if you want to find how much, or what is the amount, or what is the concentration of the particular element in your sample, then you have to go for quantitative analysis. But you have to make sure that you know the element that is present in your sample before you go for the quantitative analysis. Okay. Then the atomic absorption spectroscopy totally deals with this quantification or the quantitative analysis. That means you have to know, or you should know, what is the element that is present in your sample before you go for the analysis using this atomic absorption spectroscopy. And what is the principle? Actually, it should deal with absorption because its term gives some idea about the atomic absorption spectroscopy. That means energy is absorbed by atoms. Which atoms? That is gaseous atoms. So now assume you are given this sort of sample. Now assume from the qualitative analysis you got an idea that the element that is present in this sample is copper. Assume it is copper. For example, we take it as copper, and then you have to form copper gaseous atoms. It is done through an atomizer, and I'll discuss about that atomizer later. And you have to provide some sort of energy to these gaseous atoms, and the ground state electrons in these atoms get this energy and goes to the excited state like this. And for this movement, or to move from ground state to excited state, it absorbs some amount of energy. So that absorbed energy is detected by a detector and it is taken to calculate the concentration of the particular element present in the sample. So it deals with the Beer-Lambert equation, which emphasizes that the absorption is directly proportional to the concentration of the particular element that is present in your sample. And this is a rough sketch of the instrument, that is atomic absorption spectrometer. You can find source, chopper, sample, monochromator, detector and computer in your spectrometer. First we'll move to what is source. Source means something like in here, it provides a ray of radiation, beam of radiation. So this radiation should contain photons which is having the same wavelength that is responsible to excite the electrons in ground state of your interested element. That means the element or the concentration of a interested element that you're going to find out. In here you have to put your sample in here. This is the atomizer. Actually this contains a flame. So through a nebulizer the sample is sucked into this atomizer, and if you take, we are going to find the concentration of copper. So then you have to give a beam of radiation which is containing photons having a wavelength that is unique, or that is absorbed by the copper atoms, unless it doesn't absorb copper electrons or the beam radiations, photons. Okay, So you have to form photons which is relevant to the particular wavelength. How it is done? For that, you have to use a source. That source should contain, usually we use hollow cathode lamp, and there are some other lamps or some other sources, but usually you are using hollow cathode lamp. And in here the specialty is how you form a beam of electrons or beam of radiation, not electrons, it's radiation, beam of radiation which contain wavelength of copper. If your interested element is copper, then you have to form a beam which is containing wavelength of copper. So for that you have to get a hollow cathode lamp which is containing cathode which is made out of copper. Okay, so this is the whole structure of a hollow cathode lamp. Here you find buffer gas, usually take it as helium, argon, like inert gas, and this is the gas enclosure. You are providing high voltage to this voltage source, and due to this high voltage it causes the buffer gas to ionize, which creates a plasma in here. And what happens is then buffer gas ions accelerate into this cathode. This is a hollow cathode. Towards this cathode that accelerates, and sputtering of atoms from this cathode occurs because this ionized buffer gas hit this cathode very in high speed. So because of that the surface atoms sputter off, and these gases and buffer gas will turn into excited by the collisions in between these ionized buffer gases, and the sputtered gas will collide, forming high energy. This energy is absorbed by the particular atoms, and after that the decaying of these excited atoms occur. That means after excitation it can't exist, or the electron can't exist in an excited state because it is unstable. So it has to return back into its ground state by emitting some amount of radiation. So this radiation has a wavelength which is equal to the sample, that means the elements that is present in the sample. Okay, then that is the way it forms this. That means it is the beam of emitted radiations from the hollow cathode lamp that is going through a chopper. Chopper means actually what it does, chopping. That means it breaks this beam of radiation. Why is that? It prevents the formation of steady beam of radiation and it forms a pulse radiation. Why is that? Now we know, although it goes to in here, as I mentioned in the previous picture, yeah, of course it absorbs some amount of energy by the sample and it goes into excited state, but it doesn't stable there. So it also has to come to its ground state. During that it also emits some amount of radiation. So not only absorb but also it emits some amount of radiation. So it is very difficult to calculate, or it is very difficult to detect what is the real amount of energy that is absorbed by the sample, because not only absorption, emission also occurs. So because of that, at one moment chopper allows the beam of light to pass through the sample. At that time the sample absorbs some amount of energy, and also as I mentioned this is having a flame. Okay, it is a flame atomizer, so it also emits some amount of radiation. So that also can go to this detector. What you have to do is in one moment chopper allows the movement of radiation through this, and in the next second what will happen is it prevents the movement of the particular rays or the beam of light. So at that time you don't get the radiation from the absorption, and it it actually chopper makes the corrections. I mean, it allows to the detector to do some correction that is coming from to remove the effect of interference from other radiations. Then after that you are having the sample, and sample is placed in this way. The nebulizer sucks the sample solution into the flame, and flame forms gaseous atoms, and your beam of photons passes through these atoms, and after some absorption the remaining will be coming out. This is going through a monochromator. Monochromator lets the beam to separate into different wavelengths. So by keeping a slit in here, you can separate out what is your interested wavelength, and you can put in that wave or the beam into this detector, and finally you can take the concentration or the absorbance using computer application. Now this is the instrument, atomic absorption spectrometer. So as I mentioned, this is the sample. Through the nebulizer, this sample moves into the burner head. So in this picture you can see it clearly. This is the burner head, the flame, and you're having this sample. Nebulizer sucks the sample into this flame, and now in this picture you can clearly understand what is this. This is the hollow cathode lamps, and you're having different types of hollow cathode lamp in one spectrometer, because I told you if you want to find the copper concentration, then you have to adjust the hollow cathode lamp which is containing copper cathode. Or if you need to find the concentration of silver, then you have to adjust the copper, or not the copper, actually it is hollow cathode lamp which is containing silver cathode. So likewise you have to change the hollow cathode lamp, which it is adjusted by the instrument itself. You can instruct the instrument using the computer application. And this is the nebulizer, and as I mentioned before, this is the burner head, and in this picture you can see it clearly. Burner head is there, and in here you can see this is a part of the hollow cathode lamp. It is adjusted, and the rays coming through this path and through this hole, and it is going through this head of the burner head. Now when it is working, there's a flame, and through the nebulizer the sample is coming here, and in here you can see the gaseous atoms. So the flame or the beam goes through these gaseous atoms, and in this place you can find a detector, and the remaining or the coming radiations or the rays are detected by this detector. Now how to do the analysis? Actually this is the method or the equation principle behind this analysis. As I mentioned before, we have to use the Beer-Lambert equation. According to that, it says absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of the particular element. But first you have to plot a standard curve that you need to form series of known concentrations of particular element. For example, 2 ppm, 4 ppm, 6 ppm, like nearly 5 samples have to be formed, and you have to take the absorbance and you have to plot the graph, and from that you can do the analysis. Then what you have to do is, after forming the standard curve, then you have to go for the unknown sample, take the absorbance of unknown sample, then from the curve you can take the concentration. Next we'll move on to the applications of atomic absorption spectroscopy. There are many more applications. I mean, the different fields use this AAS or the atomic absorption spectrometer. In medical laboratory, could detect the type and amount of toxic metals that could be present in patient's urine or blood in medical field. And in environmental scientists could monitor metal pollutants in soil and water. Soil and water, most of the time they can be contaminated with heavy metals and some toxic metals like things. And there, in most cases, there's a reference value, but you have to check whether it is exceeding or it is under the reference value. So at that time, you need to find the concentrations of these particular elements. And in pharmaceutical industry also, you can use that for metal determine the metal catalyst. And in mining industry, would utilize these devices to detect the quantity and presence of precious metals like gold and silver. I hope you could get an idea about atomic absorption spectroscopy through this video, and subscribe my channel to get more videos, and thank you for watching. Good luck.